Hi, and welcome to the DVD commentary of Star Wars. You're joined by me, J.J. Abrams. This is episode 2020, Corona Strikes Back. One thing you may notice early on is we've used the SNES version of the Star Wars theme tune. This was an aesthetic choice and not to do with licensing.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we need to fast forward this.
What are you doing? I love this bit.
Jesus, Nick, this bit really sucks. Just let it go. God, give me the remote back.
Everybody's going to have missed the really good crawling gag now.
Shut up, Nick, I was doing them a favour.
Just be quiet, we're getting into the actual thing now, okay?
O great Jedi Master, who has passed over to the next level of existence, come to me so that I may seek your wisdom.
My young Padawan has become a Jedi Knight, able to summon the echoes of the Force. What troubles you, my student?
Master, 2020. It is f***ed. I don't think it could get any worse. I'm lost and I don't know what to do.
You must channel your inner strength and let the Force flow through you. Or move to New Zealand, where sensible people live. Whichever works best for you. You plan to destroy the ignorance that gives power to the dark side,
I make dumb videos and put them on the internet that speak a shred of truth. But it doesn't make too much difference. I don't actually think people watch them. Things are insane right now. Just look at this.
Do you know what, kid? I think you're on your own.
But Master, surely the Force has told you that these things will get better.
Not with that shit.
What?
I better head off. You have some tough times ahead. Namaste, or some like that.
Huh? Master, wait!
What? What is it? I've got a date with some enlightened Twi'lek dancers. Know what I mean?
Okay, but what's it like being dead?
Being dead has its perks. Do you know there's another galaxy that has actual music? I mean, why was the music in the Republic so bad?
Are you saying the Cantina band sucks?
When you cross over, you should check out Devin Townsend and Carnival. Have a better one.
Well, I'm f***ed. Star Wars. Bigger than Jesus. Bigger than a Big Mac. Bigger than its fan base, who now hate it way beyond its simplistic plot. So much so that they attack everything to do with it, in any way they can.
Blind! You so do not understand! You weren't there at the beginning. You don't know how good it was, how important. This is it for you, this jumped-up firework display of a toy advert. People like you make me sick. What's wrong with you? Now, I don't care if you've saved up all your 50p's, okay? Take your pocket money and get out! What a prick.
Arguably one of the most toxic, self-loathing, argumentative, and gatekeeping fan bases on the internet, these people have forgotten what it is that they fell in love with. In 1977, 20th Century Fox released George Lucas's Star Wars and changed the face of cinema forever. The film grew from a cult phenomenon to a cultural staple. A man with a unique vision, George battled adversity, even having a heart attack halfway through making the film. Crew and actors alike laughed at the very concept that would end up being one of the mainstays of their career. But rewind 10 years before Star Wars was even a thing, and George was still in film school making a unique short film.
Yes, get on with it!
That film was called THX 1138 4EB, a 15-minute student film set in a dystopic future where the main character, THX 1138, is pursued through a subterranean city. A nightmare impression of a world in which a man is trying to escape a computerized society which constantly tracks his movements. Sound familiar? The film was hugely influential to a new wave of movie makers. It went on to win the first prize at the National Student Film Festival in New York. The student film's no-budget use of exciting visual effects and complementary sound design were the early signs of a stellar science fiction success, and it wasn't long before studios started to take notice. In 1971, George Lucas released his first feature, THX 1138, based on the student film, starred Robert Duvall and Donald Pleasance. Made for the low budget of $777,777.77, the film was a commercial failure. But this movie seriously showed George's chops when it came to aesthetic creation and special effects, especially with such a small budget. THX 1138 features major themes of today: gross consumerism, mass apathy, big pharma control, Big Brother-based utilitarianism, state control, and in a scene expanded upon in the 2004 remaster, slave labour. THX is seen building the very androids that have the populace under control. With all this in mind, it's safe to say that George had some pretty interesting ideas.
Oh my god, he nuttin'!
Retrospectively, it could be said that George had already made his first masterpiece at the age of 25, and when he'd gone on to attempt to make another one, he was laughed at. But George had the last laugh when Star Wars ended up being a major cultural success. Star Wars dared to do something different, and that's why people fell in love with it.
I'll tell you what I fell in love with. Space battles. Laser swords.
It's called a lightsaber!
Oh, shut up!
Relatable characters and a classic kids' good versus evil story.
I couldn't get enough.
I loved the flashing lights, and as I got older, the influence it had on science fiction and the way that movies are made. It allowed money to flow towards filmmakers who wanted to explore new ideas, take us to strange new worlds, and yes, Star Trek and Star Wars had a direct impact on each other. You wouldn't have one without the other, at least not in the capacity that they exist today, but we'll save that for another video.
You realise how unacceptable this is?
Lucas's contemporaries would frighten the shit out of us, explore themes that have been written in the 50s and 60s that only a budget at the 80s and 90s could afford. But enter 1999 and the behemoth returned with Episode 1. Retrospectively speaking, the idea that the prequel trilogy is better than the sequel trilogy is a common chat that happens amongst fans. Now, I remember going to see Star Wars Episode 1, coming back from the cinema feeling very disappointed. A lot of the continuity was missing, and one of the standouts with that was R2-D2. They make a big song and dance out of how he saved their life, but Obi-Wan quite clearly said,
seem to remember ever owning a droid.
Now, I'm sure somewhere, somehow, George has explained this, but to me, the 10-year-old me, the target audience for the film I'd just been to see, he had got it wrong. And I didn't realise it at the time, but George had a habit of going back and changing things. I think this may have been the beginning of his downfall when it came to Star Wars. The classic hand-shot first scene was changed on 3 separate occasions to many fans' disappointment. Was George smoking crack when he came up with the prequel films?
Jar Jar's the key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had in any of the movies.
I mean, he must have had an outline, but when he came to write the script, he must have had sycophantic butthole merchants drinking his every word, like he was some sort of infallible creative god.
So uncivilized.
But how did he get from this to this?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Shut up! When it comes to stories, George ain't no thespian, but he is an innovator, and in the 70s and 80s he stirred up the filmmaking business with never-done-before techniques. But he didn't stop there. He reinvested into better sound for theatres, even calling the company THX, audio being so pivotal to that movie. He also founded Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, who would have had a hand in every great spectacular movie made through the 80s and 90s, and even today. He made CG happen by founding Pixar, and was a key proponent in making green screen and computer-based post-editing happen. George wanted to make films that he thought technology would hold back, but when it finally came time to do so, he got caught up in the innovation, and the basics got completely missed. Jar Jar, Anakin, Obi-Wan.
Hello there.
Endless green screen and far, far too many lightsaber battles made this trilogy one of the most disappointing returns to pop culture the world has ever known. And that's fine. It's fine to be disappointed. It's fine to talk about how disappointed you are. However, there are worse things in the world to hate than some bad Star Wars movies. Like poverty, transphobia, systemic racism, the collapse of the rainforest, the war in Yemen, the military-industrial complex, corporate elitism, imperialism. That's literally in Star Wars, by the way. Star Wars educated us on that. Anyway, cut to 2000 and... what the f***ing year is it?
Alexa, what year did Disney buy Star Wars?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, October 30th, 2012.
Cut to 2012. Disney buys the lot from George, who once said he would never let the franchise go, and he'd never make any more Star Wars films. The fan base went crazy! Thank God George is gone! Disney can do no wrong! Cut to 2019, we reach the end of the trilogy, with slick spin-off movies and plenty of controversy. The SJW trilogy, as some refer to it, is just a rehash propped up by a female version of Luke Skywalker, who is so overpowered she gives Superman a run for his money. But I've got to say, it's a little slice of nostalgia. These films and their spin-offs do a better job of remembering the universe that George created. Tonally, visually, these movies are far more on point than the prequel trilogy. Yet there is a portion of the fan base, if you can even call them fans, who think politics has no place in any kind of media. The clue is in the name. Star Wars. War, it's inherently political. There's a philosophical side to these movies, and often people's philosophies are coupled with their political beliefs. Light and dark, good and bad. It's obvious, but people refuse to believe, because we are living in an era of ignorance. Everything is treated with suspicion, everything must be a lie.
Why the fuck you lying?
And in America's case, religion trumps all. Such freedom, much freedom. It's sickening, it's sad, it's also very infuriating. I believe humans can be better. You might think I'm being sarcastic, but we can.
Don't give me the Star Trek crap, it's too early in the morning.
We make these incredible things. Skyscrapers, mobile phones, the internet, movies that dream of the stars, games that open our eyes to other worlds. We are capable of so much love, so why the fuck do we hate the things we love? Why is adopting progressive attitudes an agenda how anyone could have watched and fallen in love with Star Wars and not seen an oppressive empire at work all around the rest of the world needs their head examined? But that's exactly what's happening, and that's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm talking about the things I'm talking about. I'm having to justify the creation of these films when it's so obvious that it's about good versus evil. I mean, what the fuck? And yes, I can't stand this abomination. Sorry, Carrie. I don't like the idea that there's a bunch of ghost ship star destroyers hanging around on a Palpatine planet instead of space. I don't like the fact that the Knights of Ren are introduced in what seems to be Kylo Ben's pivotal backstory, only to not be expanded upon. Meanwhile, other characters join in and just seem as casually dropped. It's almost like they made these films up as they were going along. Oh fuck, I've become another self-flagellating Star Wars fan. Maybe just fuck Star Wars then. George ruined it. EA ruined it. Disney ruined it. Maybe none of us deserve it anymore. What? Psych! Just kidding, you do you, Star Wars, we love you.
I know.
Ultimately, Star Wars is a huge multi-million-dollar industry, and a little bit of hate from a bunch of self-loathing, misogynistic, tinfoil hat-wearing kooks will not stop that. We'll continue to flock to the cinema and subscribe and buy the little figures and, sorry.
This is the way. This is the way.
Thanks for joining me this week. If you like what you saw, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, you can call me a pussy-ass f***ing bitch snowflake and some sort of leftist and libtard in the comment section, and I'll get right back to you and tell you that a leftist and a libtard are not the same thing. They're not mutually exclusive, and that'll tell me just how little you know about life, the universe and everything. Thanks anyway, goodbye. And may the force be with you always.